There's a quiet feeling that's followed you for years. Not loud, not urgent, but constant, like a faint pull beneath the noise of daily life, a whisper in the middle of the night, a question you've never quite been able to name. Is this all there is? You've read the books, listened to the talks, tried the meditations, practiced the affirmations. You've done the work, or at least you've tried, but something still feels misaligned. As if you're chasing something that keeps moving just out of reach. And in your quietest moments, you wonder, why does effort feel like exhaustion? Why does progress still feel like disconnection? Why does it seem like everyone else has found something you keep missing? Here, what no one told you. It's not because you're not trying hard enough. It's because you've been looking in the wrong direction. You see, the universe you've been searching for, the one with the answers, the magic, the freedom. It's not out there waiting behind some mountaintop teacher or technique. It's you, not metaphorically, not romantically, literally. You are not a separate observer floating through space. You are a living expression of the same intelligence that spins galaxies and opens flowers. You're not just a passenger, you're a participant. And the journey you're about to take, it's not about adding more, it's about remembering. Because the truth is, nothing is missing, not purpose, not power, not connection. They're all right here, folded into your awareness, waiting to be seen through new eyes. This video isn't here to sell you a system. It's not here to promise you instant results or bypass your humanity. It's here for something far deeper, to help you stop searching and start seeing, to guide you home to the part of you that's never been lost, just quietly waiting for you to return. This isn't about believing harder, it's about waking up. And as you do, the world doesn't just change around you, it begins to move through you. There's a moment that sneaks up on all of us. It doesn't arrive with trumpets or big revelations. It shows up in the quiet, in the late night stillness when your body is tired but your mind won't stop spinning. It shows up in that whisper of frustration. Why isn't this working? You've done the journaling. You've made the vision board. You've recited your affirmations with conviction, morning and night. You've tried to think positive, to trust the process, to let go and let the universe. But underneath all the effort, there's this subtle ache. A feeling like life is on pause, like something vital just isn't clicking. That's not your fault. That's the glitch in the story we were given. You were never meant to live like a machine, running on inputs, goals, logic, effort. You're not a calculator. You're not a checklist. You're not a linear cause and effect project waiting to be solved. You are a field of frequency, dynamic, alive, ever-shifting, not mechanical, not logical. You're not meant to grind your way into alignment. You're meant to resonate your way into coherence. Most people mistake frequency for emotion. They think if they're sad, their vibe is low. If they're happy, it's high. But your frequency isn't a mood, it's a signature. It's the harmonic sum of everything happening inside you. Your beliefs, your nervous system, your traumas, your unspoken hopes, your early programming, your relationship with your body, your tone of voice with yourself. It's your energetic fingerprint, and it's always broadcasting. When you say, "I want abundance," but deep inside you expect struggle, that expectation becomes your broadcast. When you affirm love but fear abandonment in your bones, that fear becomes the signal. You're not being punished. You're being matched. The universe isn't a genie that listens to your words. It's more like a tuning fork that resonates with your being. It's listening not to what you say, but what you are. And this is where most teachings miss the mark. They tell you to visualize harder, to script your perfect day, to fake it till you make it, but you can't fake a frequency. You can't pretend your way into coherence. Your nervous system won't lie for you. Your subconscious is always louder than your voice. The truth is, you don't attract what you chase. You attract what you stabilize, what you allow, what you embody. Think about it. A magnet doesn't chase metal. It simply is magnetic. That's enough. You're not a radio scrambling for the right station. You are the signal. When your inner world hums with clarity, peace, and self-trust, you won't need to pull anything toward you. The right people, opportunities, timing, they'll find you. Not because you begged, not because you tried harder than anyone else, but because you finally resonated with what was already yours. This isn't about being perfect. It's not about performing high vibes 24/7. That's just spiritual hustle culture in disguise. This is about noticing. Noticing what's been humming inside you for years. Noticing the beliefs that were never yours. Noticing how often you confuse anxiety with motivation. Noticing where your body is holding onto stories that your mind already wants to release. Because when you begin to notice, you begin to soften. And when you soften, you begin to remember. And when you remember, you return. You return to a truth that was never gone, only forgotten. You're not here to chase. You're here to transmit. The quality of your presence is the architecture of your reality. So today, just pause, not to fix yourself, not to manipulate your frequency, just to meet it with honesty, with breath, with space. You're not broken, you're broadcasting. You're not behind. You're just beginning to hear the music you've been playing all along. You followed the steps. You did the work. You made the vision board, meditated on your goals, practiced gratitude every morning. You wrote down your dream life like the books told you. You stayed positive, trusted the process, let go of control, or at least tried to. But underneath it all, a quiet question lingers. Why hasn't anything shifted? Why does it still feel so hard? You wouldn't say it out loud, because maybe it sounds ungrateful, or maybe you're afraid that admitting your doubt means you've already ruined the vibe. But here's the truth that no one tells you when they hand you a manifestation journal. Most people don't manifest what they want, not because they didn't try hard enough, but because they never addressed the part of them that still doesn't believe it's possible. And that part lives deep. It lives in your subconscious. See, your conscious mind is where your intentions live, but your subconscious, that's where your blueprint lives. And manifestation isn't just about thinking something into being. It's about harmonizing your entire frequency so that what you want actually feels safe, normal, even inevitable. You can think abundance all day long, but if your subconscious blueprint is still written in scarcity, that frequency will override your intentions. Because your subconscious always wins. It's not personal, it's just physics. This is why people say things like, I keep attracting the same kind of toxic relationships, or no matter how much I try, money always slips away. It's not because they're cursed. It's because their inner GPS hasn't been reprogrammed. Their outer actions are new, but the map inside, still stuck in the same old neighborhood. And here's the kicker: your subconscious isn't trying to sabotage you. It's trying to protect you based on old data. It's just running the last script you gave it, or more accurately, the last script someone else gave you. Parents, culture, school, trauma, religion, advertising, pick one, or all of them. This inner conflict creates what some call energetic static. On the surface, you're broadcasting one desire, but underneath, a completely different frequency is leaking out. You say, "I want love," but your energy says, "I expect abandonment." You say, "I want wealth," but your energy says, "I'm afraid of being seen." You say, "I'm open to receiving," but your energy says, "It's not safe to relax." And the universe doesn't respond to your declarations. It responds to your dominant vibration. It hears the music beneath your words. This is why affirmations feel hollow when your body's still bracing for the worst. Why visualizing success feels exhausting when your nervous system is wired for survival. You're not doing it wrong. You're just skipping a layer too deep to ignore. So where do you begin? Not by forcing positivity, not by pushing harder, but by listening, by pausing and asking, what is my signal really saying? Not what I hope, not what I say out loud, but what do I believe when no one's watching? This is where real manifestation begins. Not at the vision board, but in the honest inventory of your inner world. Because you can't fake your frequency, but you can rewrite it, not by controlling every thought, but by relearning safety, by showing your body that abundance isn't a threat, that joy isn't dangerous, that receiving does mean you're weak, that success doesn't have to come at the cost of your nervous system. This is deep work, but it's not dark, it's not punishment. It's actually a reunion with the version of you that always believed, before fear got louder, before shame started talking, before you were taught to doubt your own signal. You don't need to force your way into alignment. You need to unlearn the interference. This begins in stillness, in honesty, in sitting with yourself not to fix anything, but just to witness the noise you've been broadcasting unconsciously. Because the moment you hear yourself clearly, something magical happens. You stop trying to override your old frequency and you begin to retune it. Gently, gradually, sustainably, and over time the static fades, and the signal becomes music again. And that music, it moves the universe, not because it demands, but because it belongs. Long before we spoke our first word, before thought took shape or desire had a name, there was vibration. Not metaphor, not poetry, literal vibration. Your body is made of it. Your thoughts pulse with it. Even silence hums if you listen long enough. This isn't just spiritual lingo, it's physics. At the subatomic level, everything vibrates. Your cells, your breath, your voice, the light flickering on your skin. Matter itself isn't solid. It's energy dancing in a pattern, and every pattern carries a frequency. This means that everything you are, not just what you say or think, has a vibration. Your beliefs, your fears, your joy, your doubt. They all emit a kind of signal, like invisible radio waves rippling outward from your core. And this is what the universe responds to. Not your words, Not your rituals, not even your vision board, but your vibration. The universe isn't listening for grammar, it's listening for resonance. Imagine it like this. You walk into a room where someone just had an argument. No one says a word, but you feel the tension in the air. That's vibration. Or you meet someone who hasn't said a thing yet, but you instantly trust them. That's vibration. You're not crazy. You're just tuned into the language that underlies all languages. And here's the truth that changes everything. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. If you walk through the world vibrating lack, no matter how many affirmations you say, you'll meet situations that mirror that scarcity. If your internal frequency is built on proving your worth, the universe will keep sending you tests. But if you stabilize in the frequency of enoughness, even without a single external change, you'll start drawing in coherence. Because reality rearranges itself around what you consistently broadcast. So how do you shift your vibration? Not by faking confidence, not by raising your vibe like a to-do list, but by becoming coherent within yourself. It starts in small moments. Moments when you catch yourself hustling for approval and pause. Moments when you stop trying to become and simply act as if it's already true. Not pretending, remembering. This is the secret most teachings skip. They tell you to believe, but belief without embodiment is hollow. You don't manifest by wanting something. You manifest by becoming the version of you who already lives it. It's not about control, it's about coherence. Let me give you something simple, a shift you can start today. Next time you want something, love, clarity, abundance, don't ask, how do I get it? Ask, who am I when this already exists? And then move from that place. If you were already safe, how would you speak? If you were already supported, how would you walk into the room? If you were already loved, how would you treat yourself this morning? You don't need to wait for the outcome to shift into that version. You just need to stabilize the signal now. Because when you do, you stop reaching and start receiving. This isn't about denying your pain or forcing happiness. It's about coming into harmony with your own field. When your inner world aligns, the outer world can't help but adjust. You don't need to shout to be heard by the universe. You just need to resonate. When your vibration and your desire speak the same language, you won't have to chase what's meant for you. It will echo back to you, because that's what resonance does. It returns. Think of your mind like a broadcasting tower. Every thought, every intention, every subtle feeling, it all sends out waves. Most of us don't notice we're transmitting all the time, but we are, even in stillness, even in silence. And here's the key. The clearer the signal, the faster the response. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to think only high-vibe thoughts, but you do need coherence. You need clarity. Because the universe doesn't respond to your noise, it responds to your signal. And your signal gets distorted when your mind is cluttered. You can say, I want love. But if that desire is wrapped in fear, self-doubt, and mental static, what gets broadcast is confusion, not clarity. You might be vibrating want, but you're also vibrating not having it yet. You might be affirming abundance, but beneath it, you're bracing for disappointment. It's like trying to tune into a radio station while driving through a storm, full of static, half sentences, emotional echoes from yesterday. That's not a clean signal. That's a mixed message, and mixed messages get mixed results. Clarity, on the other hand, is magnetic. It's not loud or forced. It's steady. It doesn't beg or bargain, it simply is. And when your internal world begins to stabilize in that kind of knowing, when your nervous system and your subconscious agree on what's safe, on what's allowed, life starts shifting faster than you expect. So how do you get clear? You don't force it, you clear space for it. Start by softening the noise. Before you set an intention, pause, feel your body. Ask, am I trying to control this, or am I truly open? Do a mental sweep. What story am I telling about this desire? Am I chasing it, or am I becoming someone who can hold it? And then one simple practice, silence. Sit with the intention, no visualizing, no affirming, just breathe it into your body. Let it take root, not in your head, but in your field. Feel what it would be like for this desire to feel normal, not exciting, not dramatic, just natural, like it already belongs to you. Because that's the difference between wanting and being ready to receive. Wanting still holds a gap. It implies distance, lack, waiting. Receiving means you've aligned. It means the version of you who has it is already activated in the now. From that place, manifestation becomes less about effort and more about attunement. You stop trying to bend reality, and instead, you invite it to meet you, where your energy has already gone. So if things have been slow, if nothing seems to be landing, don't assume it's punishment. Just ask, is my signal clear? Or is my desire being buried under worry, proving, trying too hard? You don't need to push louder. You just need to tune cleaner. Because when you do, when your field becomes a pure, open invitation, life doesn't have to guess what you want. It hears you clearly, and it answers. You think of someone you haven't spoken to in years, and they text you 5 minutes later. You're mulling over a tough decision, then glance at a billboard that reads exactly what you needed to hear. You keep seeing the same number over and over. 11, 11, 4, 44, 12, 34. We call it coincidence, luck, a glitch in the matrix. But what if it's none of those things? What if it's a language, synchronicity? The elegant dance of events that align without logic is not random. It's not superstition either. It's the subtle geometry of energy responding to coherence. It's the universe tapping your shoulder, saying, "You're getting warmer." Carl Jung first gave this pattern a name, but ancient mystics have whispered about it for millennia. In temples, they watched for omens. In the woods, they listened to the wind. Today, we check the time and catch our breath when the numbers match. The channel has always been open. We've just forgotten how to tune in. Here, S what you need to know. Synchronicities show up more often when your inner world is beginning to harmonize. When your frequency sharpens, the outer world can respond with precision. It's like a mirror coming into focus, not because reality changed, but because you did. And the more present you are, the more clearly you notice the universe whispering back. Let's be honest. In a world obsessed with proof, synchronicity feels dangerous. It doesn't offer explanations. It offers echoes, feedback, threads to follow, not with logic, but with trust. It's not a treasure map, it's sonar. You don't see the full path, but you feel the pulse that guides you forward. So when these moments happen, don't rush to explain them away. Don't brush them off as wishful thinking. Pause, breathe, ask, what energy was I in when this happened? What thought was I just having? What part of me feels seen by this? This isn't about decoding signs like a puzzle. It's about relating to your life like a living conversation. Synchronicity is your frequency echoing back through time, space, and symbol. It's not the event itself that matters, it's the coherence behind it. That you thought something, felt something, radiated something, and reality whispered, "I hear you." And yes, it's okay to feel a little spellbound by it. That enchantment, that awe, it's part of the signal. It opens your perception, makes you more available, more receptive. Because synchronicity doesn't speak through the eyes, it speaks through presence. It doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, it winks, so let it. Let the number on the receipt feel sacred for a second. Let the song on the radio be your answer. Let the stranger's conversation next to you carry a phrase meant just for your ears. You don't have to prove it was real. You just have to notice that it moved you. The universe speaks in resonance, not rules. And when you learn to listen, not with your mind, but with your whole being, life stops feeling like a series of accidents. It becomes a dialogue. And every so-called coincidence becomes what it really was all along, a response. Time doesn't work the way you were taught. It's not a straight line. It's not a one-way track moving from birth to death, past to future. Time is a field, and you're not a passenger, you're a participant. In every moment, you're not just experiencing a timeline. You're selecting one, choosing again and again which version of reality you're stepping into. That choice isn't just mental, it's vibrational. Every emotion you feel, every belief you hold, every reaction you lean into, it all acts like a tuning fork. It aligns you with a reality where those patterns make sense, where the external mirrors the internal. Feel scarcity. You align with timelines where resources feel tight, where success feels far. Feel self-trust. You step into a field where doors open, not because you forced them, but because you stopped doubting they would. We've been told the future is something we reach through effort, that if we work hard enough, wait long enough, we'll get there. But the truth is, the future isn't waiting, it's already here. All of them are. There is a version of you already living the life you crave. Not in some distant someday, but in a frequency that exists now. You don't have to build that reality from scratch. You just have to tune to it. This isn't fantasy. This is coherence. When you shift your vibration, your choices change. When your choices change, your actions shift. And when your actions shift, the reality you perceive realigns to match. It's not magic, it's mechanics. You don't have to become someone else. You don't have to fix yourself to get what you want. You just have to change tracks. Think of it like switching trains mid-journey. The landscape doesn't change because you force the mountains to move. It changes because you're on a different line now. And yes, it can feel subtle. It's not always dramatic or cinematic. Sometimes it looks like choosing a thought you usually avoid. Sometimes it looks like responding with softness instead of armor. Sometimes it looks like stopping in the middle of a self-critical spiral and whispering, "This isn't my timeline anymore." That's how timeline shifts start, with small moments of sovereignty, with new defaults, new signals. new agreements with yourself. And the beauty of it, you don't need permission, you don't need proof, you don't even need clarity at first. You just need willingness. The willingness to release the story that your life is something being done to you, and reclaim the knowing that you are co-authoring this page by page. So if you feel stuck, maybe you don't need to push harder. Maybe you're just one choice away from a softer future, one breath away from meeting a version of yourself who's been calling you for years. You don't have to chase them. They're already here, waiting for you to align. We live in a world that praises science, that wants proof, not poetry, evidence, not intuition. And yet, if you look close enough, science has been whispering the same truth that mystics have known for centuries. Consciousness shapes reality. Let's go back to one of the strangest, most famous experiments in quantum physics, the double-slit experiment. When scientists fired particles, tiny bits of matter, through two slits onto a screen, they expected to see a pattern that made sense. A straightforward trail, something logical, but instead they saw something baffling. The particles acted like waves. They interfered with themselves as if they were everywhere at once. But here's where it gets wild. When the experiment was observed, when someone simply watched the process, the particles changed their behavior. They collapsed into a single point, like they knew they were being watched. Let that sink in. Without observation, matter stayed in possibility, spread out in potential. But the moment it was observed, it chose a position. It became a reality. This isn't philosophy. This is physics, and it changes everything. It means that your attention, your awareness, your perception is not passive. It's participatory. You're not just looking at life. You're influencing it simply by being aware of it. Now zoom out. Think about what this means for your everyday existence. When you expect disappointment, you filter reality through that lens. You observe your life with the eyes of lack, and the particles collapse to match. You get more of what confirms your belief. When you begin to expect alignment, even before there's proof, your observation starts shifting the field. You don't force reality, you frame it differently. You open up new paths, new connections, new insights that weren't available before. Not because they didn't exist, but because you couldn't see them. And once you could, you did. The observer effect tells us that reality doesn't solidify until it's seen. So if that's true, what are you choosing to observe into existence today? This is where science meets sacred, where quantum physics and spiritual practice shake hands. You are not a detached witness to life. You are a conscious architect, collapsing possibility into form. Your thoughts aren't just noise, they're signals. Your focus isn't neutral, it's creative. You are the eye that sees. You are the field that responds. You are the artist and the canvas, the question and the answer. So yes, manifestation may sound woo at first, but when you understand the physics of perception, the mechanics of energy, the plasticity of mind and matter, it becomes clear. You don't get what you want. You get what you observe as true. And when you shift your gaze, not just mentally, but energetically, you're not just changing your thoughts. You're changing the world they land in. Not because you control reality, but because you're finally aware that you're part of it. Actively, powerfully now. There's a part of you that wakes up before your thoughts, It speaks in instinct, moves in habits, decides before you even realize there was a decision to make. That part of you is your subconscious, and it's not passive, it's powerful. Most people think manifestation is about wanting something deeply enough, saying affirmations, visualizing goals, staying positive. But if your subconscious map says, "I don't deserve this," or "it's not safe to receive," then no matter how loud your intentions are, the signal gets scrambled. Because the subconscious isn't listening to your words, it's obeying your truth, not the truth you speak, but the truth you store. The one etched in emotion, formed in childhood, repeated through relationships, reinforced through pain. And here's the thing: your life doesn't follow your plans, it follows your programming. That means if you want to change your outer reality, you don't start by fixing behaviors. You start by meeting the beliefs that gave birth to them. You dig under the action to the architecture. You ask, "What must I believe to keep acting this way?" That question is a doorway. It leads you past shame, past willpower, past temporary fixes, and it brings you into the real power. Subconscious repatterning. But how do you do that? Start small, start soft. When fear arises, don't push it down or dress it up in positivity. Sit with it, dialogue with it, ask it, "What are you trying to protect me from? When did I first feel this way? What do you want me to know that I've been ignoring?" This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Because when you approach your fear with curiosity instead of judgment, it stops being a wall and starts becoming a map. A map that shows you where the old code lives, where the story began. And once you can see it clearly, you can start to rewrite it. Not overnight, not through force, but through repetition, through presence, through practice, journaling, somatic work, hypnosis, meditation, inner child healing. These aren't trends, they're tools, not to fix you, but to bring you home to the version of yourself that isn't run by outdated software. And as you do, you'll start to notice the shift. Not because the world suddenly becomes perfect, but because your internal compass begins pointing somewhere new. You stop reacting the same way. Stop sabotaging the same progress. Stop vibrating in the same loops. That's not coincidence. That's coherence. You didn't force reality to change. You aligned with a version of yourself who never needed to hustle for healing in the first place. So let this be the moment you stop treating your subconscious like a shadowy saboteur. It's not your enemy, it's your echo. It's the part of you that's been holding all the old code, hoping one day you'd come back and update it with love. And now you are. That's what real manifestation is. Not just calling something in, but becoming the version of you who believes it's natural to receive it. From the root, from the reprogrammed, from the self that finally feels like home. Long before manifestation became a buzzword, before energy healing, quantum physics, or mindset hacks entered your feed, there was Hermeticism. Not a religion, not a superstition, a system. A map that's been passed quietly from hand to hand, century after century. Whispered in mystery schools, etched in stone and symbol, hidden in the open, and at the heart of it, 7 principles. 7 truths said to govern everything, from the movement of stars to the shape of your thoughts, from how civilizations rise and fall, to how your internal world carves out your external reality. Let's walk through them, not as dogma but as lenses, invitations to see your life and your power with new eyes. 1. Mentalism. All is mind. This isn't metaphor. It means consciousness isn't something inside the universe. Consciousness is the universe. Everything begins in thought, in awareness, in intention. You are not separate from reality. You're inside its mind, and it's inside yours. 2. Correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. What you see outside is a reflection of what lives inside. What you resist internally shows up externally. Your relationships mirror your self-beliefs. The macro and the micro are in dialogue. Always. 3. Vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves. Everything, emotion, thought, light, sound, is vibration. You don't attract based on your words. You attract based on your frequency. And that frequency can be raised, tuned, refined, not through force, but through awareness. 4. Polarity. Everything is dual but connected. Love and fear, light and shadow, creation and destruction. They aren't enemies, they're extremes of the same spectrum. When you understand this, you stop fighting what you feel and start using contrast as a compass. 5. Rhythm. All things rise and fall. Nothing is static. Life has tides. Your energy, your emotions, your luck, they all move in patterns. When you stop resisting the lows and learn to surf the rhythm, you gain balance. You find grace. 6. Cause and effect. Nothing escapes the law. Every outcome has a root. Every shift has a source. This principle invites radical responsibility, not blame but ownership. You are not a random leaf in the wind. You are a creator in motion. 7. Gender. Everything contains both masculine and feminine principles. This isn't about biology, it's about energy. The masculine creates structure and direction. The feminine births, receives, and nourishes. When these two are out of balance, so is life. When they dance in harmony, new worlds are born. Now here's the twist. These principles weren't just for monks or mystics. They were used by leaders, artists, alchemists, strategists, people who understood that to shape reality, you don't need control. You need alignment. These laws aren't mystical loopholes. They're energetic mechanics. They explain why just think positive doesn't work when your subconscious vibrates in fear. Why synchronicities start appearing when you drop resistance. Why some people seem to move through life like water while others push against every current. They aren't rigid rules, they're patterns. And the more you learn to see them, the more you learn to move with them. You become less reactive, more intentional, less trapped, more tuned. And perhaps most of all, you stop searching for magic outside yourself. Because suddenly, you remember, the map has always been within. It's easy to feel like life is happening to you, like you're one small piece on a giant chessboard, dodging circumstances, reacting to moves you never chose, following rules you didn't write. But what if you're not just a piece? What if you're the player? What if you're also the board and even the rule book? Let's begin here. Every single day, your mind is being programmed. Not by a machine, not by a chip, by symbols, by sounds, by the words you read, the tone in someone's voice, the scrolling headlines, the colors in your feed, the stories you tell yourself when you think no one's listening. You are not neutral. You are a living receiver, and a transmitter. And like any system, your internal software runs by repetition. This is why you keep having the same kind of argument in different relationships. Why success shows up but slips away. Why no matter how many new plans you make, the results circle back to the same emotional ground zero. You're not broken. You're running code you didn't write. And it's time to update the source. Not through blame, not through rage, through remembrance. You don't need another guru, another technique, another certificate. You need to remember who you are beneath the noise. Start simple. Ask yourself, what signal am I sending today without even realizing it? What version of me is creating this moment? Am I living from fear or from choice, from reaction or intention? These aren't just journal prompts. They're access keys. Because once you become aware of the signal you're emitting, you become able to shift it. Not with effort, but with frequency, with presence. And the moment you shift your frequency, everything that matches the old version of you either transforms or disappears. That's not luck. That's not magic. That's energy alignment. That's the game beneath the game. It's what mystics have taught, what physicists are discovering, what ancient schools encoded in riddles and rites. You are not a passive passenger in this universe. You are a conscious participant. You're not here to just navigate life. You're here to co-create it, to author it, and not from ego, but from awareness. So don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the timing to feel perfect. Don't wait for someone to choose you. You've already been chosen by life, by breath, by this exact moment. The real question is, will you choose yourself? Will you own the truth that's been whispering beneath all your self-doubt, that you were never just here to survive? You were born to remember, to reclaim, to rewrite. And from this point forward, you no longer walk into life asking what will happen. You enter it asking, what will I create now that I know who I am? If you've made it this far, maybe you're not here for another explanation. Maybe you're here to remember. Because behind every law, every principle, every tool we've explored, there's only ever been one destination: to bring you back to yourself, not the version that's exhausted from effort, not the one trying to figure it all out, but the you that's been quietly watching all along, the witness, the signal, the spark. You are not a machine waiting for better programming. You are not a mistake needing to be fixed. You are the universe folding in on itself to experience a moment called you. That's why manifestation isn't about control. It's about coherence. That's why healing isn't about forcing yourself to be better. It's about being with the part of you that already knows. That's why life keeps giving you loops, not to punish, but to invite you into presence, into clarity, into the recognition that everything you've been chasing already exists inside. When your thoughts quiet, your breath softens, and your attention returns to now. You don't have to do anything. You just start to be. And that being becomes a tuning fork for everything you've been waiting for. Not because you demanded it, because you remembered your frequency. You remembered that the universe isn't out there in the stars. It's here, breathing through your heartbeat, pulsing through your choices, listening every time you pause long enough to feel. So if there's one thing to take with you from all of this, let it be this: you are not lost. You are not behind. You are not broken. You've just been taught to forget. but the forgetting stops here. And from now on, every step is a return, not towards something new, but towards something ancient, something sacred, something only you can remember for yourself. You, the you that watches, the you that knows, the you that's always been the universe, quietly waiting to recognize its own reflection in the mirror of your awareness. Welcome home.